Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer, voice recorder videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Thursday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, in which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you're playing characters Gottwald, Max Savra, or Twirl, this stream is not meant for you, because it will be full of spoilers. We stream our sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20, and for streaming, I use OBS Studio. I guess we're still talking about Salvage Operation, although I think I've got things fairly locked down, so I'm debating on actually moving on and trying to get a little bit of ahead of the action and maybe talking about the island of Gunderland in general and basically the entire introduction for Call from the Deep, because it's getting to be time where I need to introduce the actual main quest. Although I do like, and Chris did mention this on one of the post-session chats, that he had no idea what the main plot was. And if you notice, also, I tried to bury the lead here a little bit by not using the actual cover image from Call from the Deep, because the cover image is a giant freaking mind flayer on the cover. And I haven't even, let them know that much that it's going to happen. Instead, I'm using kind of one of the generic ship images. So I really wanted to tease the fact that they don't know what's happening, only that something weird is going on in the ocean. I guess the big buildup right now is like Sawagan working with pirates, which is pretty weird. Maybe they've got some kind of weird alliance going on, but nothing like supernatural quite yet. And I think the end of Salvage Operation will probably mark maybe the beginning of that, as this giant kind of elder colossal octopus, what do you want to call it, attacks the ship. And also they will find... they should be able to find a correspondence, which I should probably create that this stream, actually, that's basically the message that, or some kind of tease to where the captain of the ship was told, of the salvage operation ship, which Emperor of the Waves, I'm keeping the name for one as well, was actually sent from Gunderlin to deliver a message to Lord Neverember, the Lord's Alliance, because that is part of the story, which is that it's kind of divided into all these different sections. The leader of Gunderlin, who is in Gundbarg, King Olgrave Redax, is a member of the Lord's Alliance. He's the only island nation that's actually a member of the Lord's Alliance. So he is basically seeking help from his, fellow... I don't know, countrymen or something. I feel like it's somebody like the UN, like asking for help. Or what's the, is it NATO? Is that what it's called? The North, I don't even know what it stands for. What is it? I feel like an ignorant American now. But anyway, there's some kind of like defensive pact that was like post World War II or something. That's kind of how I picture the Lord's Alliance in this universe. Is they've got this like pact together where it's like, hey, if one of us gets screwed, then please come help us. And that's what the king is trying to reach. Now, the beginning of the chapter doesn't go into specifics very well in terms of explaining how much the players know going into it. And I had to reread like sections of it. And even then, I'm not too keen on how much information I should give the players. The only thing I can see is 10 days ago, King Olgrave Redax of Gunderlin reported a disturbance on the island, but has no resident warriors to investigate. That's like the only sentence it says before the players even set off towards Gunderlin, is they are just said there's a disturbance on the island. So much so that they have to basically bring in outside forces or like their allies. That's the only thing in Chapter 1. The Crash, Neverwinter, the Crash. There's mentions of things they can do, interact with NPCs before they go out. Let's see. Lord Neverember hired on the voyage to take adventures of Gunderland, investigate some disturbance there. Yeah, so that's all they know is a disturbance there. So the as written in Call from the Deep, it doesn't actually tell the players anything at the beginning, which is good. And then they don't learn anything until they get to Gunbarg, and then they have a meeting with the king, and then the king can actually tell them more information. So one of the weird things is the players may be thinking, especially once I reveal the fact that the ship came from Gunderland, they're thinking, okay, we're about to run into like a dangerous like dungeon situation. That's actually not the case. In fact, the island Gunbarg is still fully functioning and fine, but I was going to have basically the west half of the island be a lot more dangerous and have that be maybe ransacked. I'm even debating on having Fiskerback be like completely wiped out by the Sawagan Raiders, and the fact that there's literally a mind flayer stationed in the mine, which is a location the players know about, but they don't know where the location is. They only know that they were sent to. The mission of the original Sea Ghost was to send supplies to the old mine in Gunderland. So now once they get to Gunbarg, they can obviously ask somebody, well, where is, do you know where this old mine would be? And they're like, yeah, it would be, on the, I think it even only says it's on the western portion of the map. Unfortunately, as I really liked this adventure, and I obviously reviewed it very glowingly. But now that I've dug into the details of it and like tried to like specifically get information, I'm finding some of that lacking, which is quite annoying early on. For example, Bronzo is not on the map, but I'm not sure exactly where it is, how far it is anywhere. I think there's only one throwaway sentence that just says it's somewhere on the western shore, I believe. Off the western coast of Gunderland. That's literally the only information I have on where the mine is. Because I do want to use the mine. I think it's a fun little dungeon crawl, and it definitely teases the whole mind flayer involvement. I don't know if the players will be able to actually take on a single mind flayer as a party of 4, but I could always have the mind flayer like summon some minions and then maybe skedaddle out of there. It might be more effective use, because I think a fight to the death, I mean, that mind blast ability alone would be the clincher, right? He could like stun the whole party and then it's a TPK pretty quickly. But he's not the big bad, he's just one of the bads. I think there's 4 or 5 like main Mind Flayer, thank you, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Okay, so I do know it was NATO is the whole thing. I didn't know what it stood for though. Thank you for dropping some knowledge over there, Captain Mike. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit with the Bronzo Mine. When they get to Gunderland, basically they'll know Gunderland will be their only location they can really get to, because that'll be the safe harbor. It'll be a chance for them to rest and get some information from King Olgrave. And then King Olgrave, let's see, where's the Gunderland section? He can tell people, let's see, Stonerise Keep. So pirate attacks, there have been no more pirate attacks than usual. The Sword Ghosts have been ravaged. Sea Devil's always been a problem for Gunderland. They lurk in the shores off the islands northern coast, hunt fishermen. Normally they sacrifice folks to their god Sekala, though rumors say they are taking captives. That's a good thing to comment on, because the players will be able to witness that firsthand this coming session, where we'll have the Sawagan literally trying to get captives to bring to their Mind Flayer masters. Supports the Lord's Alliance wholeheartedly. They took their time to arrive, but always sort things out in the end. And what's funny is the Gunbarg will be expecting help, right? Because literally they sent the Emperor of the Waves out to get help from the Lord's Alliance. So when the players like come in and I can even act this funny thing where it's like, oh yeah, we've been expecting you. Are you from the Lord's Alliance? And then the players can be like, wait, what? And they can be more confused about the situation, but then that gives them a pretty easy in. So essentially, I'm letting them stumble into the beginning thread of Call from the Deep instead of being hired right from the beginning. And I'm trying to be able to create those threads together. Jarl Frostgale, who is the leader of Fiskerback, is a hothead. He thinks Gunderland should return to the old ways, piracy and raiding. Frostgale thinks the Lord's Alliance is a waste of time, but doesn't understand the intricacies of it. Doesn't help that the wreck claimed the lives of a few of his villagers. And again, I'm tempted to even have Fiskerback be like a complete war zone, be like there's nobody left alive there or something, to really drive home the seriousness of the situation. And then the crash. Kerosene to check, realize King Redix isn't telling them everything. So what does he actually say? Let's see. The King's Grateful Ventures have sent to investigate the crash. He's making pleas to the Lord's Alliance for almost 10 days, but his supplicants fell on deaf ears. Frostgale, whose territory the vessel crashed, has been up in arms and believes the guns should renounce the Lord's Alliance. Redex hopes that when the Jarl sees the investigation, he will change his mind. There's unlikely to be accommodating at first. King Edrix is eager for the party to be set out as soon as possible. Fiskerback, where the crash occurred, is on the western shore of Gunderland, a 3-day walk. The king recommends walking, as sailing around the coast of Gunderland is notoriously difficult, and another shipwreck is the last thing that he wants. And the players would probably expect there to be encounters, but I believe there are no actual encounters. Or are there? Let's see. Travel in Gunderland. Yeah, I don't think there's any actual encounters mentioned. In fact, sea travel is very dangerous And the players may be thinking, well, we're supposed to deliver these supplies. Were we supposed to, like, was there a hidden, dock somewhere? How are we supposed to get in there? And I'm not going to be privy to giving them the information, because at that point, um, I guess they might be confused. That's the only tricky thing, is they may be thinking, okay, we can keep up this ruse if we just, get our boat all the way up to Fiskerback and bring these supplies there. Whereas if the leader of Gunbark just says, like, I would not recommend going by boat, I think you should go by land, then the players might be like, well, but we had a plan to go by boat to be able to bring these in there. And unfortunately, the mine is landlocked. So maybe I'll say that. Like, it's not on. I did say it was on the western shore. Off the western coast of Gunderland. I don't see it being at all attached to water, though. Is it? Let's see. B1. Mine entrance. Overgrown path leads almost to the entrance of the mine. There's a cave-in. Okay, what about B9? The deep mines. The depths of Bronzo are cursed by maddening presence, which drive the initial colonists insane. All the mines are rich with ore. The whispers eventually sent the remaining sane miners fleeing. This lock has been using Bronzo as a base from which to manipulate the Sahuagin. They've been using the Sea Devils to capture local fisherfolk for thralls and food. Yeah, got more of their presence. Doesn't really mention anything about... Okay, so it's just a back way into the mines, I guess. I don't know. I guess what was the plan then for them to deliver? I guess they were planning on having the Sea Ghost arrive at Fiskerback, which is maybe taken over by... I mean, maybe it's just empty at this point because the players, had taken too many days or something. Which is the plan. I'm not going to have, like, the whole army there or anything. The army's already having attacked. Or on their way, I guess, to attack Neverwinter. The timing should work out that way. Hopefully the players will get the message to not go by sea. Don't worry about the whole supply thing. Just go by land. I realize I'm railroading them a little bit. The one thing I will open up, though, is I will give them the location of Bronzo Mine. I will also give them the location of the Nautiloid crash. I think the King Olgrave would generally know where it is. The wreck. Okay, and then you can make a persuasion check to yield more information. The wreck you're going to investigate isn't safe. Your all Frostgales told me several villagers died when it crashed, and more have gone missing since. Also, and I'm not sure I believe this, there are rumors the ship came not from the sea, but from the sky. Frostgale's a hothead, but not a fool. He wouldn't entertain such fantasies unless he believed them himself. I don't know what to make of it. So that's obviously pretty important. So the fact that that's even something they may learn. So what I want to do is create some of this information via text that the party can get in the coming session if they go upstairs to the captain's cabin from their position they're in right now on the salvage operation boat. And then they also have several captives that if they keep them alive, they can talk to those captives and get them out. I'm going to have 3 captives there, and it's totally going to be up to the players, and I'm not going to even sugarcoat keeping them alive if the players can't keep them all alive. So none of them are necessary for the story. They're just there as people they can rescue. I'm going to use a asshole rich noble merchant who would be, is a classic character you want to see die. Using a ship kind of cleric, ship surgeon who would be very useful. She was just originally stationed on the Emperor of the Waves. And then I'm using that teenager Byrne who was in the Sahuagin attack scene as somebody who bore witness or somebody who is from Fiskerback and then has talked about the horrible attack by the Sahuagin and the fact that they've been kidnapping people, and maybe he even witnessed his parents being killed. I'm trying to see. It does talk about somewhere what all happened. Maybe it's another Fiskerback. Yeah, the Rhine Wave household. 10 days ago, while fishing in the early hours, the family was attacked by Sahuagin. Byrne and Taman were taken to Baranzo by one group of sea devils, where Byrne was implanted with a mind flayer tadpole, and Taman was killed by the mind flayer Thilisoc. So Taman was the dad, I think, and then Byrne was the teenager. Wester was sent straight to the wreck of the Golden Crown in the northeast of Gunderland with a Sahuagin lair to be eaten. So that was the mom. Okay, so I wonder if she's still alive. That would be pretty crazy. That would be messed up, too, if you lose the son and then she's like, oh, my... And you rescue the mom. I bet they still find the mom in this one. So Wreck of the Golden Crown is another really cool dungeon I plan on using, but they won't gain the location of that one until they do the nautiloid crash, I believe. But this is a fully underwater dungeon. The first case, I believe, of a fully underwater dungeon. I'm trying to see where they've got prisoners holds. Prisoners. Yep, Westro Rime Wave is there. Interesting. Wife to Tamron and mother to burn. She was captured off Gunderland's coast while fishing. Okay. So he was actually... I'm trying to figure out how he escaped then. If he was taken to Baronzo... Ron was implanted with a mind flayer tadpole. So he must... So unfortunately, if I use this story, then he knows a lot of information. He would know everything then if he... Maybe he's messed up. Maybe he can only mutter. He can't talk coherently. He's clearly suffering from some kind of horrible degenerative disease. Maybe even play around like it's the aboleth thing, which is... I forget how that works, but you like become all mucusy and moist and nasty, and you have to like have water and something. I don't know what Ceramorphosis actually looks like, I guess. Yeah, I think Hammer Toes, we're on the same wavelength there. So have him all this information happen to him, but maybe he's not coherent enough until he sees things like Fiskerback, or like he just gets jolted into certain memories. This is all, of course, if he survives. And then maybe, of course, during the right time, hopefully he can accompany the players during the right time. Or maybe if he doesn't, he can then start transforming into a mind flayer, or having his head explode, or something happens where the players are like, holy shit, what is going on? But it is pretty messed up that if the son dies and then they can later rescue the mom. But I mean, he's kind of a ticking time bomb. If he's implanted with a tadpole, I mean, this isn't the Baldur's Gate 3 magic tadpole shit. Like, it's pretty much a death sentence, I think. I don't know if there's any way to actually fully extract that once it's happened. At least nowhere they would have a facility here on Gunderland. So I guess the son is doomed anyway. That's pretty dark. But that's one of the 3 survivors. So he would know... I guess technically he would know the location of the mine. He might even be able to... I just think he'd be too... His mind would be too fractured, though. It'd be interesting if the players had access to more utility stuff, like detect thoughts or something like that, where I could really play around with, them being able to communicate to Burn. Again, if he survives his current predicament. But I think I'm gonna just nuke Fisker back in general. I think we're gonna make that just be a site of a horrible attack by the Sawagan, and like there's nothing left, and then Burn. The bad thing, I was planning on having Burn be a survivor who fled, I guess, Bronzo Mine, and then showed up at Gunbarg, and then he was part of the group that told King Red Axe maybe that there's some real dangerous shit going on in Fiskerback, and like, some monsters, and but that can be part of it. Maybe his condition has gotten worse. So when he first arrived at Gunbarg, they can say he was half dead. He was raving about monsters from the sea and from the sky, and really start coming up with some cool, like, creepy teases. And unfortunately, he's gotten his condition has gotten worse. And that's something that the other ship folks can confirm, is that, then when they set off towards, Neverwinter, basically to go get help, his condition has just deteriorated and gotten worse. And she can say, like, I've tried like basic healing stuff, and he's suffering from some kind of terrible, terrible malady. And that was something they were also going to Neverwinter to try and look at healing. The only problem I can see here is if the players say, well, we need to go to Neverwinter then and report in. I don't know. Hopefully they realize they're closer to Gunderland, I guess. I mean, they still have their main quest to go to, check out the mine and do all this. So I'm hoping that would be part of it. And the rescuers, I plan on having the asshole merchant noble be like, no, fuck you. You need to take me to Neverwinter. Like, I'll pay you money. Like, this is ridiculous. And just be a total dick. Because I think that's just a classic trope to have one of the captives in any situation. Zombie movies do this really well. There's always at least one just complete asshole who you're like, man, just feed this guy to the zombies, except we can't because we're, that's a mean thing to do. But you like hate that guy. And I plan on having that guy for sure as one of the people that they can rescue. This is all, I guess I should switch to that map. This is all I'm talking about, the second half of Salvage Operation, which is literally what we're going to run into in tomorrow's session, which should basically consist of this big battle in the hold with a bunch of Swaggin and this half-filled watery area. And then after that, we're going to launch the tentacle attack on everybody. So we'll be running the Death of the Emperor section, where essentially the priestess will call out and be able to commune with the Zilix 4, Elder Brain, infected Kraken, and he will in turn summon a giant colossal octopus to crush and drown the entire ship and try to get rid of any evidence of any of this happening. So the players will be in high stakes to have to rescue folks and get the hell out of there. There may or may not be Sawagin still alive, I don't know. But this is the room right here, room 2, which I blocked off initially so they couldn't just get down here too quickly and get down to the hold, where I plan on having maybe a torn piece of parchment where they can find some kind of instructions that the ship was sent from Gunderland. Basically, there was a message written from King Olgrave Redax to Lord Neverember, beseeching him about, as a member of the Lord's Alliance, yada yada, you need to come rescue this. Which I guess I could go ahead and put that together if I wanted to put it in as a proper handout. And just maybe block some stuff out. Let's see if I can use... Always having to tie the story stuff together. It makes me tie myself into knots, but I think it gets appreciative when we can... And it's not a very complicated story either. I'm just trying to come up with something a little more interesting because I did not like the very, very beginning of Call from the Deep. I don't think it's very interesting. And it even kind of hand waves past those, those early levels. And I think there's value in playing those early levels and getting the players up there. And, if you don't want to start them off with the main quest, that's fine. You can do what I've done with Rhyme and now with this one, which is start them off doing other things, but then you can kind of, build up and tease to what the main quest is. What am I looking for? Vile Tiles, I think. Vile Tiles, tabletops, what I usually look at. Come up with good parchment looking paper. Looks like it's maybe torn or something. It's nice to be able to make some custom handouts when I have some time. There we go. These are looking nice and torn. All right, so let's move you. And we can also use like ink stains. You to the back. Okay. And we're going to have... So what I'll probably do is just type it and then use maybe ink stains to get rid of some words. Never remember. And it'll be signed to King Olgrave Redax. Again, what did you know? Sounds dangerously like the Alien game. With the head exploding. That was, talk about just damned if you do, damned if you don't in that one. Jeez. You either take the antidote and you become a monster, or you don't take the antidote and you explode and spawn a monster. Those are just terrible, terrible choices. Alright, so let's do text. Which text is this? Does it say Kashan scripts? I'll use that one. Member of the Alliance. Call for your aid. My Jarls. Frostgale has has a Jarl reported it? I guess. One of my Jarls, Jarl Frostgale has. No, I don't want to say Fiskerback yet. Fiskerback. Is Jarl always capitalized? Probably. Well, no, because he wouldn't say. Word King isn't always capitalized. Jarl Frostgale reported a shipwreck. I guess I can go and say a few weeks ago. Reported a shipwreck a few weeks ago. Where's Gunderlin? Gonna borrow the crash. Told me several villagers died when it crashed, and more have gone missing since then. Okay. Fosco reported a shipwreck a few weeks ago. Several people died. They have been reported missing since. I've sent my own scouts across the island, but none have returned. Only one survivor. A young man was found, and he's injured. I wonder if he was found like washed up on the shore versus made it across the land too. Young man washed up on the shore, half dead, raving about monsters and nightmares from the sea. I don't know if I want to even talk about the crash. I mean, obviously, because the players will be able to metagame it, right? Like, as soon as they see the Nautiloid crash, they'll instantly know what's going on. So I kind of want to bury that as much as I can and let that be like this big, like once they see it and they're like, oh, fuck, that's not a shipwreck. Or it is a shipwreck, but that's a fucking crashed Nautiloid. As a member of the Lord's Alliance, I call for your aid. One of my Jarls, Jarl Frostgale, reported a shipwreck a few weeks ago. Several people died. Many have been shipwreck. Reported a shipwreck a few weeks ago. Shipwreck on the island, I guess. The island a few weeks ago. Several people died. Many have been reported missing since. I've sent my own scouts across the island, but none have returned. Recently, a young man washed up on shore, half dead, raving about monsters and nightmares from the sea. Um, send this message and the young man as proof. I wonder if I want to say that they recognize that he's from the other side of the island. Because Fiskerback is on the map, and I don't want them. I don't want them to make a beeline to Fiskerback. I want them to go to Gunderland first. Watching another group doing Frostmane, they killed RL at the castle on the island. Just feels odd. Yeah, it's. There's a lot I like about Rime of the Frost Maiden, but I just don't see how that basic story got published. Frankly, it's just crazy to me. Campaign by committee, I guess. It feels like there were maybe too many cooks in that kitchen, and they kind of made separate stories and tried to make them work. Which I think that the one that works the best, which is the one I changed the least, was that first third, the one with the build up to the Dwargar and the Shardland Dragon and everything. I know I do have to plan on having Toro react to that, and I think I'll probably have something scripted, like he'll be all like embrace the tentacle, but he'll feel. I'll let him, like, even he can reach out, try to commune with his god, but he feels something very wrong, like almost a sickness or something, and that might be too much of a tease, but I mean it's also a good opportunity that can be his character arc, is like coming to grips with the fact that his god may be in trouble and that he has to go save his own god, which would be the Kraken in this case. So I think I'm going with the angle that Slarkwithel is his patron as a Fathomless, but I also like the idea of later having the Aboleth that they meet and can ally with say, like, hey, while Slarkwithel has been infected and would have quickly rescinded your powers, I was able to reach out and subtly guide you along the way. And it basically has a fun little twist for the players to be able to work with this hideous, monstrous creature that you normally would not work with. There's a chance if they miss the handout, if they can't get out through area 2, they'll be hauling ass once the handles attack. Yeah, well, it's very true, and that's why we've got the NPC they can talk to as well. If they miss both of these things, then yeah, that would be a bummer. I may have to contrive something like they find this note floating in the waters. If they're literally like on their way out, once the ship is like starting to go down and they're hauling their way out through the ship, then maybe they just, randomly see this note or something, because they would need some kind of context. But hopefully between the 3 captives and this note, they will have some kind of information to go on that reveals this ship and its purpose. Send this message along with the young man, burn Rime Wave, as proof of our need. And he's specifically expecting them to send a team, right? I think that's the case. Like an investigative team. The member was proof of our need. I guess I didn't have to actually say anything in the note. Remember the Lord's like call for your aid. One of my Jarls, Jarl Frostguy, reported a shipwreck on the island a few weeks ago. Several people died. Many have been reported missing since. I've sent my own scouts across the island, but none have returned. Recently, a young man washed up on shore, half dead, raving about monsters and nightmares from the sea. I send this message along with the young man burn Rime Wave as proof of our need. Send a team. And a team as soon as you can. I can actually say our hands are full between pirates and sea devils. Pirates and sea devils. My forces are spread thin. Send a team as soon as you can. There we go. Okay. And then make this bigger. It doesn't let you edit it once you actually put it in here, does it? It's so annoying. Let's go text. Let's go 22. Okay. And then the signatory is King Olgrave Red Axe. Are you going to say King Red Axe, maybe? And I'll go with 22. Sorry, how do you spell your first name, Mr. Red Axe? I don't know. Mr. Burns, what's your first name? Gunbarg. Yeah, I could sign it like Gunbarg, Lord's Alliance. Like he's reminding everybody, like, hey, I pay my dues. I pay my dues, damn it. Okay. I have to make this thing a little bigger to fit everything in here. Oh boy, I'm getting bad resolution though now. Jeebs. Maybe I should pick a different one. I realize this isn't the prep work that's as fun as doing maps and combat prep, but it is important to do the story stuff too. Damn it. Alright, that might be fine. Let's do it like right there. So now, if I can do some ink stains or blood stains or something, we can strategically cover up sections and make it a little bit harder to read on purpose. We got like that one. Oh, interesting. That doesn't even block it out all the way, does it? Could do that on purpose. Yeah, even the dark one. I was picturing it having like entire sections be ripped up. Let's see if the other ones are ink splatter. It looks cool with ink splatter on there, though. I like that. Actually, I kind of like that look where you can like kind of see it, but you kind of can't. I wonder if I could darken it. It doesn't really change it much. Okay. Oh no, I was merely saving my god from the sickness. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. He gave me the Fathomless to work with, so that's what we're going to work with. But yeah, he's going to be thinking all these tentacles are good stuff. But that is not going to be the case. Dear Toro, you don't get to just pick a class and say, aha, none of the monsters will attack me now. Not quite how this is going to work. It's too bad this is the only one that's not like a ring. Tabletop stain. Yeah, those are all rings. Is there anything else I can use to cover it up? Make it more distressed. Yeah, this will be in area 2. This is the only thing they find in area 2, and I'll basically save this as a handout. So I like the idea of Burn. He is implanted with a tadpole. It happened in basically he was just in Fiskerback when Fiskerback was attacked. The entire place has been wiped out, this whole village, in the week since the Jarl reported the problems happening, which I like. And then the only evidence they'll find of that will be at Bronzo Mine, which is actually pretty empty. And I like the fact that that's also kind of a good trope for like mystery investigation action movies where you're always like 2 steps behind the villain, which is going to be the case up until they get to the end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2, I guess, which is the attack on Neverwinter, and they'll be able to actually see the villains in action. That'll be the big, marquee moment for the main plot. But up until now, they're just basically chasing and investigating between the Nautiloid crash, the wreck of the Golden Crown. That's all the stuff they'll be building up towards what's going on here, which is basically that Mind Flayers crashed on the island with an Elder Brain. They were wounded but still alive, and then they were able to take to the sea, immediately start basically doing their evil conversion stuff on the Sawagan, use them as like shock troopers. They even got all the way to infecting Slarkerthel, and then from there they were able to really gain command of a lot of different sea creatures and factions, and build up this massive force in a fairly short amount of time because of Slarkerthel's power already. And with that, they've been consolidating all these forces, and now they're starting to lead a big attack on Neverwinter because they feel like that would be where they need to strike first and quickly. They're just trying to do like a blitzkrieg style where, instead of building up things and trying to be quiet about it, they're just striking first and trying to destroy all these major players before they could have anything, before they have a chance to stop anybody. And it happens to be the player characters have kind of stumbled upon this. But Neverwinter, Lord Neverember, through his different contacts, has also realized that this has been going on. I'm still going with the Neverember angle, although I could change things at the last minute that their mysterious benefactor is actually the Aboleth, because I do think that's a really fucking crazy twist. And yet it also feels goofy that an Aboleth would be like, I guess you have minions, the Aboleth would be writing the actual notes and paying them. But I think there's some value there, and as of right now, I'm not sure which angle I'll go with that. But in terms of when they finish the big attack on Neverwinter, that's when I plan on revealing who their benefactor was. And at that point, we've gotten past the whole mysterious what is going on angle, because you can only do that for so long. And then we're like, okay, we know our villains. Now we just need to figure out, basically how to stop them. Like, what do we need to get to defeating them, who their different factions are, take out their leaders, and do all that, which will be basically the remaining 2/3 of this campaign. But right now, during the first third of the campaign, it is primarily still mysterious and what's going on, which I think is the cool way to build that up. There we go. So it's kind of make it a little bit trickier to read, but not impossible. I know that's why I'm leaning towards it, Hammer Toes, because I would love that. It's not necessary for the story. I'll say that. Like, it's something I've learned as a DM is the less you have to rely on a single NPC or a single thing happening to make the story happen, the better, because then you don't have to give somebody, magic plot armor or whatever else. But most stories you do need like some critical people to make happen. So technically having them work with the Aboleth is not required here, but it would be cool. I think it would be a cool angle, and it would allow me to use the Aboleth purely as another like quest-giving NPC, essentially. And I think that'd be a really fun angle. But and yeah, obviously having the Aboleth be revealed, at the very least, I could have the Aboleth be revealed as somebody who's been like helping power Toril, for example, in Slarkerthel's current condition. But yeah, having him be the benefactor would be pretty gnarly in some cool ways, I think. It's really starting to fuck up this thing that I've written just to make it harder for them to read it. There we go. So you could technically read the whole thing, but yeah, the other option is I sit there and delete stuff manually, which, yeah. Or create little like black squares in between. I could do that. I could just literally draw like little black boxes so it actually does black out everything. You could do it this way. It doesn't actually fill it in though. Except to actually select that as maybe that would work. There we go. That looks kind of dumb now that I look at it. That looks very obviously like it's a black circle. Yeah, that might be a little too much. It's for something they may not even see. I like the aboleth that anyone suggested. Yeah, I like it too. I think it's cool. Honestly, I'm just a fan of anytime an adventure gives me a chance to use a non-traditional a creature as a social NPC, basically, that the players were like, oh wait a minute, we can like work with this. In fact, I'm in the middle of reviewing, which I just released it for patrons yesterday, Phandelver Below the Shadow to Obelisk, and there's a lot of great chances to interact with creatures who are normally very hostile and dangerous. But in that situation, they're social opportunities, and it's really fun. It's fun to like role play as those characters and to twist. It's just a fun twist for the players to come across and be like, oh wait a minute, we can like interact with this, and maybe it's like an enemy of my enemy kind of situation, which is exactly what it would be here with the Aboleth. Obviously, I had a lot of fun. Probably my first instance of that was back in when we did Prince of the Apocalypse, and I got to use a Lich as a kind of a quest-giving NPC that even Chris's character Callan ended up really enjoying and running with, which was just fantastic. So I like that angle a lot. That's something that every time I see it, an opportunity for that, I tend to jump on it and get really excited about that chance. And sometimes the players don't jump on it. Sometimes they're like, well, no, we're not gonna fucking like, be a part of this. But if there's any group that I've been surprised about how willing they are to work with villains basically, or bad guys, it's been this party right now. Holy crap, it's been hilarious. Is it the same Aboleth from Waterdeep Dragon Heist or a different one? I don't remember the Aboleth from Waterdeep Dragon Heist, Brandon. This one is actually, it's a good question. I was gonna say in Neverwinter, but I actually changed it to where all 3 cities are from Neverwinter, so it may very well be because one of the areas is Waterdeep. Let's go to chapter 2, I think. Yeah. I believe it is. Let's see, attack on Waterdeep. Is that the? Oh no, this is the Merid one. Okay, Umberlease Cache. So it's not the Waterdeep one. I think it might be the one that's actually originally in Neverwinter. Yeah, it's actually the one. It's originally in Neverwinter. Is this House of Knowledge, which is where Kazaxaro the Aboleth who layers down there. So according to this, that is actually the original location for that one. But I am going to be scooting all the other ones into Neverwinter and using that primarily. I do have the maps ready for the 2 locations in Gunderland. I am probably going to skip the grotto because it's just kind of a weird side quest. The players can basically buy potions of water breathing from a sea hag in Gunbarg, where everybody's like, thinks she's a creepy lady. The fact that she's a sea hag doesn't really play into anything, though, except she sends the players on this like weird mission, this kind of creepy cave that has its own interesting like trap system. They do have a chance to get a Cloak of the Manta Ray and a Bag of Tricks, though, which are 2 very, very good items. I'm loath to give them another Bag of Tricks, though, but Cloak of the Manta Ray, obviously amazing. Not even attunement to have a cloak that gives you a swimming speed of 60 feet and breathing underwater. Probably I'll move that to like Bronzo Mine or something. It feels appropriate. Also, I plan on leveling up the players. I should talk about this. After Salvage Operation, I'm probably going to go ahead and level them up to 4th level for Gunbarg, which is a little early, actually, because they're supposed to arrive in Gunderlin at 3rd level and then only level up to 4th once they finish doing the Nautiloid crash site. So, but the problem is I don't know if they're going to go there first or Bronzo Mine first, and I'm okay with basically doing the entire island at 4th level, and then they'll level up to 5th to do the attack on Neverwinter. So I think pacing-wise, it's funny because I think this is going to be a shorter campaign. We're not going to go as long in terms of the levels as we did with Rime, but I am trying to pace things even faster than what we did. Pacing was a big problem in Tomb of Annihilation. We fixed that a little bit in Rime, but also we just ended up reaching higher levels. But here, I think we're going to go even faster and gain those levels quite a bit quicker. So I think we're going to only end up at 3rd level for, a handful of sessions, and then immediately go to 4th level after Salvage Operation and the Tentacle thing. I mean, it feels like a pretty climactic thing. And then we'll be 4th level for for Gunbarg, the town, which is just purely social. And then we'll be 4th level for the crash site, for Bronzo Mine. Both of these are small kind of dungeon crawls with they're mostly empty, honestly. Like, they're kind of investigative. There's a few monsters here and there, but they're not full-fledged like layers. So they're kind of mini dungeon crawls in a way. Although Bronzo Mine is home to one of the big Mind Flayer big bads, I guess. But the area basically was hosting their army and has since moved on and left. And then the Wreck of the Golden Crown, which will only unlock once they've done one or both of those locations, is a fully stocked layer full of Sahuagin. It's an underwater dungeon. And that one, hopefully they do last, will be very appropriate to level them up to 5. And then at that point, they'll get the information from Wreck of the Golden Crown that there's an attack that's going to be on Neverwinter. It's bringing in all their different factions to attack Neverwinter in this giant Blitzkrieg style battle. So that's the pacing I've got right now. Is they'll this next session, which I expect them to be fully to wrap up Salvage Operation, we can get through that Sahuagin fight. It's probably going to be a big fight, take half the session, and then the Tentacle thing will take the second half as they escape. And then for the session after that, they'll be able to arrive in Gunbarg. They'll be able to level up. We can do some more social investigation. It's a town. They can do whatever town shit they need to do. There'll be a chance to upgrade their ship if they want to spend some money. Again, they can buy potions of water breathing. Like, Gunbarg is not a big city, but it should have some useful things for them to purchase. And then they'll get the locations for Bronzo Mine. I think I can go and give them the location of that one and the crash site. Otherwise, I guess as written, they have to go to Fiskerback first to actually get those locations. Yeah, he's a dick, which is funny. At the crash site, which is an hour's walk north of Fiskerback. Pastor Morgan tells the characters the following. The crash happened around 3:10 ago. Frightened villagers came to tell them about a star that had fallen from the sky, killing some of their family. When he went to look, he discovered that a strange metal ship. The R wanted the crash cleared up. If the party can ensure it's not dangerous, he'll happily... Ooh, I could say it's a metal ship. That's pretty interesting. As part of the tease. The R wants a crash cleared up. The party can ensure it's not dangerous. He'll send his men to throw into the sea. And then it's Fiskerback who knows where the Wreck of the Golden Crown is and the ruins of Bronzo, claiming the cash I built it, cursed it with greed. Okay. So if I want to just nuke Fiskerback completely and say that the town is a wasteland, it's been taken over, it's gone, it's a ruin, then they won't get that information from him, but I'll have to be okay with them getting it from Gunbarg, which I think I would be. But Gunbarg, the king, would also tell them, go on land, don't go by sea. You know, we all know not to go around the island itself, or you'd have to make like this big detour or something. He would just like, look, just go across the island. I can even shorten it and say it doesn't take... I mean, how many miles does it take? Let's go back to the actual map. I guess the players could go by water. I just figure they'll want to stop by the port. They can upgrade the ship while they're gone and then go on land. And it's not... Like I said, I don't have any encounters planned for them. It's not a big deal if they go one way or the other. So let's see. How far can players move? No snapping. So from Gunbarg to Fiskerbach is about 70 miles. And they said it was an hour's north of Fiskerbach, so somewhere up here would be the crash site, and the mine could be... The mine should probably be pretty close by as a tease for why the mine flare set up an operation there. So how far can the players go in a day? Is it 12 miles or 24 miles in a day? If they go 24 miles, I can see why that would have to take multiple days then. So that is probably a 3-day journey. I can't really sugarcoat that. Yeah, in fact, 72 would be exactly 3 days if it's 24 miles in a day. So we just have to... And there's nothing about travel. It just says, yeah, land travel along the mountain trails of Gunderland is a far safer way to get to Fiskerback, although it may take longer as characters run the risk of getting lost. But that's literally the only one-sentence description for traveling on land. So talk about your montage of like, look, there's no danger. I guess I can narrate the final day as they approach Fiskerback as being like, you know, you haven't seen anybody anywhere. It's, you know, feels kind of weird and creepy. And then there should be, maybe there'll be a trails leading. In fact, they can do that organically. I don't have maps for this for a destroyed Fiskerback because it's not destroyed as is written here. But maybe they can follow the trails that go to the crash site to also the mine. And then I believe the crash site actually has tracks that lead them to the wreck of the Golden Crown. Yeah. Discover the tracks that walk into the crash site. They will lead to go on the tracks, lead to the wreck of the Golden Crown. So there you go. So technically that will unlock once they do the crash site or once they just see the crash site. And then the mine, it can be up to them once they do that. Hopefully there'll be those two. And then the wreck is a little bit harder to get to because it's literally out at the bottom of the sea. Not like the bottom of the ocean, but somewhere at the bottom of the, what they call that, the shelf or something. If it's, you know, still from the island's depths or whatever, not like the super depths of the ocean, but definitely requires potions of water breathing. And they could always go back to Gunbarg to resupply if they wanted to. So that's the plan. Anyway, I can show you really quick the pictures I've got. If you search Call from the Deep maps, you've probably already seen them. This is by, basically I just found it on Reddit from Eric Blancho. I will include links in the description. In fact, I think I can, you know what, I'll include a link right now in the live chat. So for the crash site, the Nautiloid crash, there's a Reddit post as well as a Google Drive link. It only has these two plus the, I believe, the grotto picture. So I'm going to have to use different art for the different areas of Call from the Deep. But it's a really cool crashed Nautiloid. This is scene for scene what the original looks like. This is the original map right here. To where I was literally able to like kind of copy and paste the lighting over and change that. So not the biggest Nautiloid map for sure, especially if you've played through, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 or something, which I did a whole tutorial inside the Nautiloid. It's a very, very small vessel with just the important bits of the rooms. And then and there's, again, hardly anything there. It's all very investigative. There's like one or two different creatures. I think there might be an intellect devourer. You can very similar to Baldur's Gate 3, actually. Annoyingly, this was written before Baldur's Gate 3, by the way. I know all the players and folks watching it to be like, oh, he's doing a Baldur's Gate 3 thing. And like, well, I mean, yeah, it's cool. And I love BG3's use of it, but like this technically came first. I guess I don't know how long BG3 was in development either, but and then this is the Bronzo Mine map, which will be just a cool cave dungeon. And I'm picturing this as being the area, this bottom of mine is where they literally built up all the supplies of the armies here, outfitted them with different, you know, weapons and things. There'll be maybe like empty crates everywhere. And just, yeah, made it look like the army had just basically left, maybe even just a few days ago or something. Like the player just missed them. And the only thing here is like, I think a swarm of cranium rats, a bunch of rust monsters down there. And then the actual mind flayer is like still in his office, basically working or communing or something, which will be a really big, crazy moment for the players. And it could be a case, I'll have to see, because it says in the mine that if the players are that low level by the time they find him, then he will, level 1 to 4th. This will like attacks without a second thought, using their thralls to subdue. I guess there's some thralls there. That's good. And in fact, that'll be victims of Fiskerback. Using thralls to subdue the character for consuming their brains or capturing them. So basically just completely fights to the death. versus higher levels, then he tries to flee. But I don't know, villains, it's also kind of fun to let them attack and then let minions handle them and then just kind of back off, because that's just something that villains do. Yep, I did say Baldur's Gate 3. No drinking. It's too early. It's early for me, at least. All right. So yeah, lots of plans coming up as we really dive into the Call from the Deep storyline in the first chapter. Which is funny since we're so many sessions into this game already. But I think the Ghost of Saltmarsh stuff was better to throw in early between Sinister Secret and now Salvage Operation, and especially using Salvage Operation to tease some of the kind of Cthulhu-esque crazy Mind Flayer shit that's going on, and the danger that is present to the players, and being able to tie in a lot of the story stuff ends up working really, really well. I say that now before I actually execute any of it, but hopefully it's going to end up working very well. All right, that will do it for this Thursday edition of Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content, please check out patreon.com/Rogue Watson. Shout out to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brandon, Zendersider, David, Eclectic, Roleplay Row, Christopher, Brian, Corey, Koa, 1337, Big Nut, John F, John L, Scott, Eric, Tyler, Nathan, Camp Crystal Lake Counselor, Andrew, the Daryl, the Relder, and Captain 2079, Stephanie, Andy, Patrick, and Jason. And gold patrons RPG, Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, Newman, Dead Lizard, Lion, Sam, Libby's Buds, Jerome, Nathan, Fastica, Tortoise, Scott, Repus, Carolina, Jerry, and Thomas. Thank you all very much for your support, and I will see you for D&D tomorrow.